This is NVHA Project 010001, Harold Corbin, Anderson, Indiana, August the 7th, 2001. Well, Harold, we're going to start out with some basic information. First of all, what is your full name?
Harold E. Corbin.
And what is your date of birth?
March 17th, 1922.
Just works out. That's my mother's birthday, March 17th.
Oh, everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
I guess so. What was your rank at discharge?
Sergeant.
Okay, Sergeant Corbin, I'm going to take you back a couple of years. I want you to tell me everything that happened on the day you were born. First of all, where were you born?
You know, this is interesting. My family moved into the house where I was born in February of 1922, and there were no curtains on. I mean, there just got curtains on the window, and it was a warm day, and I was born at home, and windows were open, and fences hadn't been built yet, and the family had a cow, and the cow came up and chewed the curtains in the window in the room where I was born. So I remember every minute of that, of course.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Okay, where were you born? What?
It was Canton, Missouri, which is in northeast Missouri on the banks of the Mississippi River.
Okay, were you born in the town of Canton or just outside of
Well,
town?
just outside. It was within a mile of downtown, we called it.
Tell me about Canton and where the place where you grew up.
Canton is a town of about 2,500 people when I was born there, and it's just about the same now. But it's the site of the first coeducational college west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
Just barely west, because this is on the west bank of the Mississippi. But it was called Christian College when it was started, and later, because of some endowments that were given, became Culver Stockton College, named after two people, one named Culver and the other named Stockton. And it's Culver Stockton College now, and doing quite well. My dad was, well, did a lot of things in his life, but when I knew about him, he was superintendent of the local municipal light and water system, and we took the water out of the Mississippi River for the town. We didn't get our water there. We outside of the city limits and had well water. But one of the things I remember about the Mississippi River in 1936, the summer of 1936 was so hot and dry, the Mississippi River dried up, and the pipe out in the river dried up so much that the pipe was stuck out in midair. But the winter following that was so cold that the Mississippi River froze solid, if you can believe that. And that same pipe was in ice, so there was no water in the town. But that winter, the farmers hauled corn across the Mississippi River from Missouri to an elevator in Illinois, if you can believe that.
Wow, that's pretty extreme.
That's two extremes, yes.
Well, you obviously grew up on a farm.
Wasn't exactly a farm. We had 13 acres. We had most of the animals on the farm, but we didn't actually do any farming. But I worked for farmers in the neighborhood, so I almost grew up on a farm and did farm work.
So, tell me about your mom.
My mother was great. We have problems with education now, and I wonder how my mother got educated, because, of course, they didn't have the schools then, but she could read, she could write quite legibly, I might add. I think she probably finished the 8th grade, for whatever that amounted to at that time. My dad may have finished the 8th grade, I don't know. But they were two educated people, and how'd that happen? I often wonder.
How about brothers or sisters? Do you have any brothers or sisters?
They were all older than I. I had a brother and 3 sisters in the sisters were all older than my brother. So there were 3 girls and 2 boys. There were a boy and a girl who didn't survive infancy. But my 3 sisters all wound up being school teachers. My brother worked for a telephone company in Missouri, and because of relatives in Indiana, he came to Indiana and finally worked for Indiana Bell, from where he retired.
What were their names?
My oldest sister was Marie, who became Marie Collett. Middle sister was Lucille, who became Lucille Wagner. And youngest sister, the lone survivor now, is Pearl Clevenstein.
I forgot to ask your mother's name.
Sylvia.
Sylvia?
Mm-hmm.
Sylvia Corbin.
Sylvia
what was
Corbin.
her maiden name?
Bergman.
Bergman.
Mm.
Okay. And your father's name?
Her grandfather immigrated to the United States from Germany.
And what was your father's name?
Mike Bergman.
Okay. Oh, your father's name?
My father's name was James D. J.D. he was called.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
everybody around Canton knew J.D. Corbin.
What kind of a man was he? Was he a strict disciplinarian or a pretty easygoing guy? Or?
The only time he threatened me with bodily harm, my mother gave me a haircut, and one day it was hot, and of course the hair itched, and I was a little restless, to say the least. And he had a razor strap, of course, like all men did at that time. And he got the razor strap down, and he said, "No, that's enough of that." That's the closest he ever did come to laying a hand on me. And he didn't that time, but needless to say, we finished the haircut quietly and got along with it.
Where do you think you have most of your personality?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I should compare myself to my dad, but I kind of do sometimes. I hope I have some of his characteristics, because as near as I can tell, they were all good. He worked hard, and he made a living, but my mother had a lot to do with taking care of it. So.
I see. So what was it like for a kid back in those days?
Oh, probably like all kids. There were, as I say, farms around our house, and I was a free range sort of person. My brother was 10 years older than I, so we didn't have too much in common, of course, and so I had to pretty much find my own entertainment, but I guess I managed to do that. I would visit the neighbors and just, I guess, typical of that time and that
What kind of
place.
entertainment would you find? What things would
Well, I can remember ice skating with skates that clamped on the shoes, and that you can't appreciate that. I guess people who have shoe skates can't appreciate that, because about the time you got going real good, one of the clamps would come loose, and the skate would flop around, and if you were lucky, you didn't fall down before you got it taken off and reclamped. Went swimming in farm ponds and creeks within walking distance, and anything with 2 or 3 miles was walking distance. So
were there neighbor kids that were close, or do you pretty much just play with your brothers and sisters?
First 14 years of my life, the only neighbors that were close were 2 boys that lived close, and we played together. But after I was 14, or when I was 14, we moved into town, and there were a lot of kids around the neighborhood, and we'd gather on the porch and play Monopoly. I can remember that yet.
Were there specific family activities or traditions?
Oh yeah. I can remember on Sundays we'd stop by the ice plant in town and get a chunk of ice and make ice cream. Somebody had to go to the pasture and catch the cow and get some milk to make ice cream. We'd put half the ice cream in use half the ice to make ice cream, the other half went into an iced tea jar. So that was pretty much routine on Sunday. If somebody wanted ice during the week, in the wintertime, we'd go out and chop ice off wherever the ice had frozen on something and have ice cream. We had family reunions then, so of course I knew all my uncles and aunts and cousins and all the family members. But it doesn't happen anymore like it did then.
What about Christmas and Thanksgiving?
We always had a big dinner on Thanksgiving, and we didn't always have turkey. We raised chickens and guinea fowl and geese, so we would eat one or more of those on Thanksgiving. Christmas was always Christmas. We had a tree that somebody would go out and cut, decorate, with decorations that could be made out of something that we had, like cranberries, popcorn, that sort of thing. So, but we always celebrated Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays. All three of my sisters were born in February. I was born in March, and my brother was born in April. So we pretty much celebrated from the beginning of the first birthday in February on through April. And I can remember my mother had a dishpan that she made angel food cake in, and that was the birthday cake.
Dishpan? Holy smokes. Oh, that's a cake.
That's a cake. So everybody had a birthday cake.
What'd you do for family entertainment? Did you play music or?
Didn't play music. I can remember card games going on around the house. There were always books and papers and magazines and that sort of thing around the house. So I guess we did a lot of reading. I guess I give my parents credit for that in the beginning, and my sisters then, as they grew older and became teachers, I accused my older sister of teaching me to read so she wouldn't have to read the funnies to me. So I'm not sure if that's true, but anyway.
What about a trip to town? What kind of affair would that be?
Oh, that wasn't a big deal. It wasn't that far. And I guess the first car that I can remember my dad had was a Model T, which would have been the first car for a lot of people at that time. And he would get feed for the animals that we had and groceries. So trips to town for those purposes were pretty much planned. You didn't go every day and get those things. So.
Well, let's move into school a little bit. Tell me about the schools you went to.
I went to school in Canton, the same building, first grade through my junior year, in the same building. And by the way, that building is still there, being used as a school. So when people say, well, that building is old, we can't use that anymore, I won't buy that. But anyway, we moved to central Missouri from Canton, and I finished school in a small country high school There were 8 in my graduating class that year. And so I was all set to go to college after I graduated from there in Columbia, which was would have been the University of Missouri. But my dad had a feed grinding operation with a stationary engine, and he loosened the radiator cap on that to check the water in it, and it had gotten hot and steam spewed out over him and burned him pretty bad. So that took care of my going to college that fall. And one thing or another happened, and we moved again to South Central Missouri.
Okay, now you moved from Canton to Columbia.
Well, Canton to a little town called Bynumville.
Okay.
I would have gone to school in Columbia, which was not too far away.
Okay.
Then we moved to St. James, Missouri, which is near Rolla, Missouri, and people around here know about Rolla,
Right.
which is the home of the Missouri School of Mines. And that's where I entered the service from, was from St. James
From St. James.
in 1942.
Let's talk about the events, world events. At some point, a person becomes aware of the world around them, politics, economics, the things that adults talk about. What were some of the things that stand out as you were growing up that you heard the adults talking about or that you became aware of?
It's a little bit odd. My dad was involved in local politics because by being a town marshal in town of Canton where we lived, when he was superintendent of the light and power, he read meters, so he knew all the women in town. So anytime he'd run for office, the women would vote for him. And he was also a deputy sheriff in the county where we lived. So he was involved in politics that way. But I don't remember that there was much talk of politics around the house. So I'm sure they did, but at that age, who's interested in politics?
Okay, that time would have been the time of the Great Depression.
We were coming out of the Great Depression during late 20s through the 30s. We always had plenty to eat, but we didn't have much of anything else. Always managed to have what we needed. No luxuries, of course, but we did survive, and everybody worked hard, helped to had garden, so we ate fresh garden produce during the summer and canned for eat through the winter. You know. So then we had chickens and pigs, and that provided meat for us.
So the president, when you were born, would have been Coolidge?
Who was before Hoover?
I believe that was Coolidge.
Okay,
Right.
that would have been.
Yeah. You remember much about him? Or?
Not really.
You
No.
would have been pretty young.
I don't remember much about Hoover either until after he was out of office, but I remember quite well Franklin D. Roosevelt, because he was the one that sent me the letter which began, "Greetings. You have been selected." So,
What was the mood of the area in which you lived toward Roosevelt?
I guess everybody liked him. Of course, the situation the country was in, everybody wanted something done, and to say the least, he did something.
Right.
As I look back, I have a different opinion of him now than I had then, but we'll not get into that. So,
Well, what were people concerned about then?
survival.
Just survival.
near as I can tell, that's what people were concerned about. But it's another thing that's odd about that period of time. Mentioned Culver Stockton College, and there were always students at Culver Stockton College. They worked their way through school. They weren't, of course, there were no student loans or federal aid or any of that thing like that during that time. So very few of the people in school at that time actually had their way paid by somebody. They earned their way through college.
Must have been very difficult.
I think that made better students out of them because they knew what they were there for.
What was your first job?
Oh boy. I guess my first job away from home that I remember was when I was in high school, and one of my friends who was in high school with me, the father had a dairy, and this friend of mine and I delivered milk before we went to school in the morning. And so I remember I got paid $1.25 a week.
Wow. That's pretty big money.
That's pretty big money then, yeah.
Okay, you're in high school, and you would have been a senior what year?
I finished 1939.
1939. Were you aware of the turmoil in Europe by that time?
I don't think so. Again, in 1930, between the time I graduated from high school and 1941, my dad and I worked as contractors wiring houses. The REA went through the country, and people were getting electricity that had never had it before. So we worked at wiring houses and continued that when we moved to St. James. And I guess I really didn't pay much attention to world events at that time. So
you must have had some kind of plans for after you got out of high school. I know you talked about going to college, but that sort of fell through.
yeah, that got put on hold, and it didn't seem to be a pressing issue then. And when I got drafted in 1942, that put it on hold again for a while. So I really didn't make plans for going to college anytime between the spring of 1939 and later after I got out of service.
Do you have any idea what you might want to do with your life?
Oh, I think there was probably never any doubt. I pretty much grew up in the electrical business, my dad being a contractor. Last work that he did, and it seemed to be a pretty good thing to be. So I pretty much stayed in that through service and after.
Okay. Well, clouds of war are starting to form. Obviously, at some point, you became aware that we would probably be embroiled in a conflict.
I got interested in what was going on. I knew that there were conflicts various places around the world. We were involved with countries in Europe, not like we got involved with later on, but we did hear about that, read about it, know about it. Far East didn't seem to be much in the news for a while until December 7th, 1941, and that became news, and
Very quickly.
so that changed the face of the world, we might say.
Leading up to that time, before Pearl Harbor, had you formed any opinion one way or another as to who the good guys were and the bad guys and what we ought to do?
Not really, and I guess I should have, because I was more German than anything else, so I should have been affected by that more than I remember being. Of course, I think things were different then in this country, because when people came to this country from another country, they became Americans. And there was no, the different ethnic groups lived in their own neighborhoods, and they had unkind words to say to each other, but as far as getting along, it seemed like they got along better then than they do now. So as I say, I probably should have associated myself with the Germans and been upset that they were on the other side, but I don't remember that.
At what point did you begin to realize that Hitler was a really bad guy? Did you think you ever really got to that point before the war?
Not before the war, no. The stories of Hitler that we got, of course, were all the things that he was trying to do for the German people and for their welfare. And I suppose that one could say that no matter how he turned out, he had good intentions but got carried away. And
so early on,
did some things that
lulled to sleep by this guy. That
I think so. Yes, he was obviously a very persuasive person.
Yes.
And of course, power does things to people that makes them different than they might be otherwise. And I think that happened too, because the people in power found out what they could do and what they could have, and a lot of them just got carried away with it, I think.
Before 1941, did you think that we were going to go to war?
Oh, I had no idea about that, no. No.
All right, December
That was their
7th.
fight, not ours. We were over here, they were over there. And,
So it was Europe's problem?
it seemed to be then,
No, there was a lot of isolationist feeling.
a lot of it, right?
All right, December 7th, 1941. Surely you have a few things to remember about that day.
Oh, I remember hearing about it. I guess I didn't realize the full impact of it at the time. It didn't take long until I did, though, because in 1941 I would have been 19 years old. 19-year-olds were not yet being drafted, so I wasn't concerned about that yet. But when that happened, then all persons between the ages of 20 and 38, I think, were subject to registering for the draft. So, yeah, I had 3 months, 4 months before I had to register. So it didn't really make an impact on me at the time like it might have.
So one day you got a letter from the President of the United States.
I did.
What went through your mind that day?
Well, what went through my mind was that I didn't want to go in the Army, because I'd heard all sorts of things about the Army. I thought the Army was just people that walked around and carried guns and all that sort of thing, which I found out later was not entirely true. But I registered on my birthday, March 17th, 1942. And I can't tell you the day, but as I say, I didn't want to go in the Army, so I went to St. Louis to the Navy recruiting station and tried to sign up in the Navy. First thing they did was give me an eye check, and the man that gave me the eye check said, "How did you find this place?" My eyesight wasn't very good, so needless to say, I didn't get accepted in the Navy, so I went home and waited for the letter that said, "Congratulations, you've been selected, report to your draft board." So I did, and that was on November 3rd, 1942, and then November the 10th, 1942, I was on my way to Jefferson Barracks to be sworn in the United States Army.
Okay, tell me about the goodbye when you went off.
Rolla is 10 miles from St. James, and I had to ride a bus from St. James to Rolla, get on the train to go to, as I say, Jefferson Barracks, Missouri, St. Louis. First time I ever saw my dad cry. He cried when I left, and I didn't know why. I wasn't going to be gone forever, I didn't think. But he understood seriousness more than I did. So, went to Jefferson Barracks, as I say, and was sworn into the Army. And you hear all kinds of things about the physical capabilities of people who go into various branches of the service. And we were given orientation lectures, and I don't know why or how, but by the luck of the draw, I got assigned to the Army Air Corps, which at that time was a branch of the Signal Corps.
Okay.
There was no Air Force as such then. And that turned out to be a real good thing for me.
Having your high school degree, did that make a difference in your assignment?
I don't know. And whether what I had done before had anything to do with it, I consider it more a luck of the draw than anything else, because that's the way the Army worked. They had to have so many people, so they take so many people, and that's where they went.
So you're a 20-year-old kid at boot camp. What'd you think when you first saw the place?
Oh, that was terrible. The night of November 10th, 1942, got on a train in St. Louis and didn't know where I was going, but wound up in Miami Beach, Florida, of all places. And the hotels in Miami Beach had been confiscated by the government. All the furnishings moved out and Army cots moved in there, so I spent basic training on Collins Avenue in Miami Beach, Florida. And it wasn't too bad to take at that time of year. That's the only time the Army ever sent me south in the wintertime and didn't send me north in the wintertime, but they soon corrected that.
So out of boot camp you went to?
Scottsfield, Illinois, which was a little over 100 miles from home, and that was a pretty good move. I was assigned to a radio school in Scottsfield, basic radio operation and maintenance. So that was 8-week course, as I remember. And
What'd you think of the training?
oh, I enjoyed it. It was study radios, and I was interested in that, how to repair them, and so it was within my interest, so I liked it.
Sounds like you enjoyed your time at Scott.
I did, and close to home, so anytime I had a 3-day pass, I could go home. So that was good.
Well, at some point, they gave you orders to move somewhere else.
Yes, and I don't know exactly the chronology, but I went to advanced radio operation maintenance in the Truex Field in Madison, Wisconsin. From there, I went back to Scott Field for that. I don't remember now what was the difference in the advanced training there and at Truex Field. But it was at Scott Field twice. I was in Smyrna, Tennessee, which was a staging area to go somewhere, I didn't know where. And from there I was sent to Westover Field near Springfield, Massachusetts. And from there I was sent back to Smyrna, and I thought I was going overseas from there. That was an overseas staging area again. I was on a list to go to officer candidate school, but I got pulled off that list and put on another list to go to Jersey City, New Jersey, to a factory that was building instrument landing equipment. Okay. And went through the school there to learn how to operate that and maintain it. Back to Smyrna, Tennessee again, and this time I was going overseas.
This time you shipped out.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back in Smyrna, you're ready to go overseas.
Well, I didn't know that, but that's
Didn't
where I
know
went.
it, but what was your rank at that time?
Corporal.
You're still corporal. You moved up pretty quick then.
Well, when I got everybody that graduated from the advanced radio school got the corporal stripes, and it was kind of funny. We got into Smyrna from that school. Got in there sometime late at night, early in the morning sometime, and we were a little rowdy to say the least, and some person at the base was trying to get us lined up and tell us where to go and what to do, and we weren't paying any attention to him, and he says, "You better listen to what I'm saying, I'm a corporal." And we just ha-ha, because we were all corporals, so that was... Anyway, we finally got settled down. And
So now Corporal Corbin, you're in Smyrna, you're getting ready to ship out. What time is this?
this would have been 1944 by the time this happened, because I left Norfolk, Virginia on a little bigger than a rowboat, one of those victory ships at Liberty ships that Kaiser was building by the millions, and crossed the Atlantic. Took 30 days to cross the Atlantic from Norfolk to Casablanca.
Tell me about the crossing. Was there any fear of...
No, it
Was
was.
it pretty well cleared out?
It was. We didn't know what was going on. I might back up a little bit, but while we were in basic training in Miami Beach, Nazi U-boats were within sight out in the Atlantic there, and it was not unusual to see a plume of smoke go up where an American tanker had gotten torpedoed by U-boats. So we knew the war was on then, and during that time there was a U-boat landed in Virginia, and some Germans got off the U-boat, but they were immediately caught, and so nothing came of that.
Didn't realize that.
But anyway, by the time we got crossing the Atlantic, we had a little more control of things than we had while I was at Miami Beach. So we never saw or heard of anything crossing the Atlantic.
What do you think when you got out in the open water and for the first time?
It's a lot of
you were able
water.
to see
It's a lot of water. I'd never seen it. The biggest thing I'd seen before that was the Mississippi River. And I thought that was big, but not really.
Were you able to handle it without getting seasick, or was it
I did, but another funny thing about it, we got on board just before mealtime in the afternoon. And when mealtime came, we went through the chow line with mess kits. They had chili. And these soldiers would go through the line, get the mess kit, they'd put a glob of that chili in the mess kit, they'd look at it, and they'd go this way and head for the rail. But they say being seasick is all in the mind, so I didn't have a thing to worry about. I didn't get seasick going or coming. So,
I assume you landed. Okay. I assume that when you got to the other side of the Atlantic, you landed somewhere.
we last landed in Casablanca, yes.
Casablanca, huh?
And I didn't get to go to the Casbah like I saw the movie about, but we were over there for a short time and rode a train from Casablanca to Oran, North Africa. And that was the most beautiful country that I ever saw in my life. It was the foothills of the Atlas Mountains that we went through. And fruit trees and nut trees were in production there. And it was just beautiful. And we got off the train in Oran and got onto a British troop ship at Oran. Went through the Suez Canal, down along Saudi Arabia. And I saw the desert and the oases, and you could tell where the water was, because that was green spots out there. Through the Indian Ocean, landed in Bombay, India. Another train ride. This was longer and same kind of, on the ride across North Africa, we're in 40 and 8,
Yes.
40 men or 8 cattle, or 8 horses, or whichever. And almost the same kind of accommodations to go across India. Rode the train from Bombay to Calcutta.
What do you think of India?
Dirty. I mean, not cluttered dirty, but dirty. I mean, wind blew, dusty, dirty. The people had their own customs, some of which I wondered about. But I guess I didn't see the best part of India. There are parts of it, I'm sure, that look better than the parts I saw.
You saw a lot of different terrain and cultures in that one trip.
Did that, yes.
For a boy
Yes.
from Missouri, that was
From Missouri, that was
quite a shock.
quite a shock, yes.
So you crossed India.
Crossed India, stayed for 3 months in Calcutta, in a base near Calcutta. And in May of 1944, flew the hump into China. Well, didn't actually do that in May. From the time I started till I got into China in July of 1944. Excuse me, 1943.
So how did
July of 1943.
What kind of plane did you fly in?
From Calcutta, we flew a C-47, excuse me, to Chabwa, India, and changed planes from a C-47 to a C-46. They said at the time that the C-47 didn't have enough ceiling to fly the hump, and that's the reason we changed planes. I've talked to pilots since that said they flew the hump in C-47, so I don't know. But anyway, we changed planes and landed at an airfield near Chengdu, which is in northwest China.
I've heard of the
In
hump.
July.
Give me some detail on the hump. Is it just a big wide mountain range?
It's a big wide mountain range, and we didn't, when we talked about flying over the hump, we flew through the hump because we could look out windows and see peaks on up higher than the airplane we were on. We looked the other way, and there was beautiful country down there, and I made some comment about how beautiful it was, and somebody else says, yes, but it's full of Japanese down there. So I didn't want to go down there. But, this was flying the hump. A lot of the people that flew the hump went to Kunming, which is in southwest China. But I was assigned to a B-29 air base. And the way it operated was there were 4 air bases in India, in the Calcutta area, that were called rear bases, and forward bases in China around Chengdu. And the B-29s would shuttle between the forward and the rear bases, ferrying supplies and parts and all that sort of thing. Everything we had for a while in China was flown in because there was no land or sea routes available to get in there.
So what was the main purpose of the base?
The B-29s flew from the Chinese bases to bomb Japanese installations in occupied China.
I see.
The B-29s, even with their long range, couldn't reach the main islands of Japan. It was too far away. They were used to bomb occupied China, where the Japanese were.
Tell me about B-29s.
Oh, it was big. First one I saw, I didn't believe it. I can't really make a comparison of it now, because compared to some that we have now, it wouldn't have been that big. But it was pretty much patterned after the B-17, which was an old reliable airplane. Looked similar to the B-17, but much, much bigger. And I think as I remember, the tail on the B-17 was the height of a 10-story building when it was sitting on the ground. So, it was big.
I've been inside a B-17. To me, it looked like a flying I-beam. There's an I-beam and everything else is connected to it.
Well, I haven't been inside a B-17, but
how were the
anyway.
29s? Were they?
B-29 was a beautiful airplane. It was a good airplane, but they rushed it into service too soon, and they didn't develop engines big enough to handle the airplane. They used engines that they already had, and the engines just weren't big enough. The B-29s would leave India with 4 engines in the cargo area. It would land in China, change 4 engines. It would go on a mission, come back, change 4 engines, and go back to India. So every time they left the ground and came back, they had to change engines. It was too bad, as I say. And a lot of planes were lost on account of the engines failing.
What was it like to lose a plane?
Oh, I guess it wasn't as traumatic as it might have been. We, who operated the instrument landing equipment on the base, really had no contact with the air crews. So if we had, I'm sure we would have known more about the losses and been more concerned about it. But we were separated from them, and didn't know about them.
So tell me about the operation that you ran while you were there.
The instrument landing equipment provided radio signals so that the airplane could fly into the airport and land without seeing the airport. The localizer, as it was called, put out a signal which lined the aircraft up with the runway, center of the runway. And the other equipment put out what was called a glide path, which was the exact proper angle for the airplane to come in. And the pilot could fly that with a cross pointer instrument and fly right into the ground and never having seen the ground until he landed. And it was really good equipment. And in cloudy weather, it came in real handy.
What did it look like? Can you describe it in any way?
The equipment?
Yes.
Oh, it was big cabinets that the equipment was in, and there were antennas on top of a shack at the end of the runway. And the glide path equipment was in a little trailer that sat beside the runway. And that's really all it looked like.
So what would your days be like when you were on duty?
Dull, nothing going on. So just, we had to be there.
Did you have to be there when they took off, or just?
Generally they would take off on a mission about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were always there when they took off, so we'd be there when they came back, and spent the night in the shack that had the equipment in, and so as I say, it was pretty dull. Just turn the equipment on and hope they didn't need it when they came back.
Or any time when it ever got exciting?
The most exciting incident was one morning during during the takeoff. It was the 3rd or 4th airplane in the lineup had the wheels collapse, and the airplane slid to a stop at the end of the runway. And here's this big tail sticking up in the air, and there's 7 or 8 more airplanes to take off. So what to do? Well, the powers that be finally decided we'll give it a try. And so the first airplane that took off after that clipped a little off the tail, but made it up. The rest of them took off, went on the mission. And the official report of that mission then from our officers at the air base, and a quote, in a daring, well-planned daylight raid, they went and bombed wherever. And I thought, now wait a minute, that wasn't daring, well-planned, it was the result of accident. So, and then I thought, what if they'd really told the truth? And the Japanese had found out that we had one of the airplanes that collapsed there, and they laid the rest of them. So I thought, the public doesn't always have a right to know, does it, really? There's some things they shouldn't know. So that changed my mind about official reports of what happened.
What did you know about the war in general while you were over there? Is there any news coming in?
Oh, we had news, we had radio, of course, that we listened to, and we had the newspapers, the Stars and Stripes, we had that we got news from. Some of the radio operators and teletype operators were in contact with the United States and Europe, and so we were not isolated, so we knew what was going on. And we're real happy when the war ended in Europe, but we thought, well, now we've got a little more to do, but President Truman put an end to that, and we were real happy to find out that he had dropped the bomb and made it so we could go home.
Where was the war in the Pacific, or with the Japanese, at the time the war ended in Europe? What were some of the things going on?
In about, well, long toward the end of 1945, maybe I should say before the, let me think. Yeah, let's back up to June 45 when the war ended in Europe, wasn't it? Long about then. Well, the troops in Europe were starting to go home, but some of them were starting to train to come to the east too, for the invasion of Japan. Some of the B-29s had moved out of China to Saipan and the Mariana Islands down there. And these islands were close enough to the islands of Japan that they could bomb Japan from there. And that was going on. So that was the big change in the war after the war ended in Europe. So from June 45, July, August, until the bomb was dropped, then the activity was from the South Pacific to Japan. Of course, the naval battles were pretty much over by that time because all the islands in the Pacific had been secured and everything was being readied for an invasion of the main islands of Japan.
So
That would have been a disaster for both sides.
did the bombing pretty much slack off in China when it moved toward?
Somewhat, yes, somewhat. But there was still activity there because the Japanese were still occupying parts of China. And
was your base ever threatened at any time?
oh, not really threatened. They'd come over and drop some frag bombs and get us out of bed, of course, but never any real threat or any big damage that they did there.
So your first air raid, what'd you think of that one?
It was a nuisance. I'd get out of bed and go to a foxhole.
So you never really had a sense that you were in danger?
Not really, no. Maybe didn't know enough to be afraid, but it was more a nuisance than anything else.
When you first heard about the Normandy invasion, do you remember that?
I really can't say that I had any feeling about the Normandy invasion. When we were in Oran, North Africa, this was the staging area for the invasion of Italy. And there were troops there that were being prepared to go to Anzio. They didn't know it at the time. And we didn't either, but we heard later that that's where they went. But so Anzio really made more of an impression on me than Normandy did. And of course Anzio was later. Yeah. Then,
Say it made more of an impression on you, how so?
well, by being that close to it.
Yeah. It's almost like you knew the fellows who were going?
Didn't know them, just knew that they were there. And it was a staging area for crossing the Mediterranean into Anzio.
Was there a sense of separate wars between the European and the...
It kind of seemed like it, yes. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have anything to do with that. We was just going by there on the way to the other one. And so I don't know if the people involved in Europe had that same sense of this is one and that's the other one. But
Did you ever feel that maybe they were getting a better deal than you were, or more attention?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember thinking that. Oh, no.
So, Truman dropped the bombs. Japanese surrendered. How'd you find out about that?
Oh, we knew about it when it happened. Because being around radios, you know what's going on. So, somebody was tuned in to find out. Know about it.
What about the bombs themselves, the atomic bombs? When did you first learn about that? Like a day or two after, or same day?
Oh, it was close to the same time, and it was later that we found out about how the bombs got over there, and that the USS Indianapolis was on a mission to bring the parts for the bombs, and what part they had played in it. And,
Had you heard about the sinking of the Indianapolis?
no, I don't remember hearing about that.
See, the Indianapolis must have been quite a ship then to be that well known.
Oh, and I think probably there was not the publicity about it then because of its mission. So it was kept pretty quiet about the Indianapolis, and I can understand why.
Had Colonel Tibbets worked in your area?
No, he was never in China that I know of. No, he spent considerable time in Europe, and I guess he went from Europe to the South Pacific. He didn't spend any time in China that I know of. Not very much, if any.
Did it register with you how big those bombs were?
Not really, because of course we had high explosive bombs. We could see what they were, and some of them were pretty big. But to have any, we had no idea of the size, the physical size of the atom bombs. We just knew that there were two different types, and they were different size and shape, and that's about all we knew.
Did you wonder why two bombs would stop a war, or do you have some sense of the devastation?
We had an idea of what happened when they were dropped. Yeah.
Out of your field, was there any fighter support that went along with these planes, or was it
No.
necessary?
The B-29 was self-sufficient. There wasn't a blind spot on those airplanes.
Okay.
The gun turrets were located so that they could cover every inch of the airplane. So fighters would just be in the way. Now there were fighters in the area around there, but they didn't accompany the airplanes on raids like I understand they did in Europe.
Okay.
So there was that difference.
Who did you report to in that area? What was the chain of command?
I have no idea. We
Would General Sutherland have been over to that area?
There were generals over there, and the names of the generals escape me now. I have known over the years who was there and when and all that sort of thing, but really to be able to say that we saw generals and knew generals, but in the Air Force the rank didn't mean much,
Okay.
like it did apparently in some of the other services, and especially in peacetime.
So when did you make sergeant?
Oh boy, I don't know, sometime while I was in China.
Anything in particular that you did that
Nothing that I know of, no. I just
they had an extra sergeant?
happened to be there long enough, and so they put out another stripe.
Okay, so the war is over. The Japanese have surrendered. What'd you do to celebrate?
Oh, probably went to the PX and drank beer. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like we really got together and threw a party or anything like that. We were just real happy it was over, and now we could go home.
What about the Chinese
And
people?
we were ready.
Did you have much dealings with the Chinese people themselves?
Chinese soldiers were guards around the airfield, and we had more dealings with them than we did the actual people. We went into town on occasion, and really didn't have all that much contact with the people, as I remember, other than just visitors into town, like tourists would be.
So you were mustered out, I assume. Tell me about the trip home.
Went back the same way I went over, flew the hump back to Calcutta, got on a boat, went across, got on a boat there, and actually didn't ride the train back across India. That was the only difference. But came back through the Indian Ocean, the Mediterranean, across the Atlantic. Got off at Jersey City instead of Norfolk like we left from, but trained back to Jefferson Barracks and was discharged.
Take a Liberty ship back across the...
No, it was a bigger ship than the Liberty ship. That time it was a troop ship that we were on coming back, so there was that difference.
Was there any sense that the world had changed any as you came back across that same ground?
I can't say that I knew there was any change in anything. But,
Do you think you changed any as a result of...
well, I'm sure I did. I don't know how. Of course, one doesn't look at oneself and say, you've changed. But I'm sure there had been. And,
is there anything in particular that you learned from your service that you could say this is a part of my life's education?
oh, pretty much everything I did in service was educational in a way, both in learning about the equipment, I guess getting along with people. So in that respect, I'm sure it was educational. Seeing new places, new things.
So you were finally discharged where? Where were you mustered out?
Jefferson Barracks,
Jefferson
back where I
Barracks.
came from.
Back where you came
Yeah.
from.
Went in there and went out there.
And you went home.
Went home, yeah.
Tell me about the homecoming.
Well, I don't remember that they threw a party for me there then either, but I'm sure they were glad to see me, and I was glad to be home. I got home during the week of January 1946, first week of January 1946. And really in January is not much to do, so I had learned about the GI Bill and found out I could go to school. So I went to Rolla to school mines to find out about getting into school there. And when I asked what the entrance requirements could be, he said, "Could you be here Monday?" And I said I could, and that was my entrance exam to the school mines. And so I spent 3 years there finding out that I wasn't going to be an engineer, and left there and worked for a while, and of all things went back to Culver Stockton College and finished work for a degree in business administration and economics, and finished in the May of 1951. I had a brother in Anderson at that time, so we came over here to visit him and stayed. That's how I got to Indiana.
Where'd you meet Grace?
What was in school of mines, there were 4 of us in school there that stayed together in a rooming house. One of the people there had a date, and his dates said she had a cousin. Would he like to bring me along? And he did, and I did, and that's how it started.
Got married when?
About 55 years ago, that started. I got married in May 30th, 1948.
48. So what was it like for a young family in 1948?
Oh, we didn't have much, but I guess we didn't need very much. We got by. I worked a little bit, and of course had the GI Bill, and that gave us a little bit to live on.
Were there any shortages? You had all these people coming back, starting their lives over.
Oh, I'm sure there was, yeah. I saved a little money while I was in service. I think I had $750 or something like that. And I was going to buy a car when I got home. That was the biggest shock I ever had. Because $750 wouldn't make a down payment on a car then. And so I didn't have a car. But other than that, I don't know that we had any shortages. Can't think of any. As I say, the GI Bill paid us a little to live on, and it seemed to be enough. And we sometimes think that was the best part of our lives when I was in school and living on that, whatever it was.
You think it made a difference in America, having the GI Bill?
I think the GI Bill was probably one of the best things that ever happened to the country, but it's also been the ruination of education, because the federal government found out it could tax people for that, and I won't get into that, but that's another one of the programs that should have stopped a long time ago, or at least not expanded the way it has.
Do you have children?
I have 2. Mike, oh boy, I should remember his birthday, but he has a sister that was a year and a half younger than he, and he lives in Anderson. Catherine lives in Indianapolis.
Do you think that having been in the war, it made any kind of difference in your attitude toward life, or you think you probably would have been pretty much the same person?
I think I appreciate more what's here, having seen what I saw then. I think one of the best things that I have done since that experience, a year ago last April, Grace and our daughter and I went back to China. And I wondered what changes there were in China in that 50-year period. Cities have changed. If you take down the signs and walk around the cities in China, you wouldn't know what city you were in. They're just like any big city anywhere. But out in the country, nothing has changed. It's just like it was when I was there 50 years ago. I went back to the airfield where I served, and that was the biggest surprise, because I'd prepared myself for it to be gone, just nothing there. And oddly enough, the airfield is still there. And it's still being used as an airfield.
Still pretty much like it
They,
was?
they've paved a little part of the runway. They train pilots for the Chinese airlines. But it's amazing how much of it is still there like it was.
You can say that you were a veteran of World War II. Do you feel like you were part of something that big? I mean, what does it mean to be a veteran of World War II?
Well, I guess I don't really realize how big it is or was or has become. I found out about an organization called the China-Burma-India Veterans Association, and that's people who served in that part of the world during that war. And I found out that we have a different view of the war than probably the ones that went to Europe. We lived under different circumstances, and there were some of the people, especially the ones that were in Burma, really had it rough. That was bad country. So there's that has made me realize that there were two parts of the war, and even though we were separate, we had a common goal, that is to drive out the enemy and win the war for Uncle Sam.
Common goal, that's an awfully big goal.
It was a big goal.
But it was very common, wasn't it?
Well,
people were very much united.
They were. We didn't win the war with military might. We won the war with production. The industries in this country just turned out goods that nobody would believe. Because when Hitler went into Czechoslovakia and started west, I guess it is over there, like started west. Somebody said, you better be careful, the United States will get in here. And he says, nah, we'll be finished over here by the time, but before they can get here. Well, he wasn't. So we fooled a lot of people. And it was the production of the industries in this country that did it.
A lot of people probably thought we'd never even get into the war.
Well, that too, yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you end up with some personal thoughts. Is there anything you want to tell posterity?
We still live in a dangerous world, and I read in the newspapers about people at war with each other, and I can't understand why. Everybody has beliefs, and I have no quarrel with the people who have deep-seated beliefs. But I wonder why the people with those beliefs can't let other people have beliefs, even though they differ, accept the difference, and get along in the world. I don't understand that. So I guess there'll always be wars and rumors of wars, like we read about, and it's just apparently human nature that is that way.
When you did get back, did you then understand the tears in your father's eyes?
Yes. I have a lot of times since, yes.
Well, Harold, I want to thank you for your service.
Well, you're quite welcome.
I really appreciate you doing this for us.
Yeah, I did it for me too.
Well, you did it for us.
Yeah.